Welcome to the 5th episode of the Cougar Playbook podcast. I'm Carter Gledhill, and today I'm with head men's lacrosse coach Brian Welch. Coach, thank you for taking time out of your day and joining with me.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always great to, wrap, and chat with, fellow CUC student athletes.
Yeah, especially, I can imagine being away from the team right now. That's putting a little strain and missing your guys right now. What's it been like being a head coach of a team and trying to communicate with them now?
Honestly, the one thing I miss the most, cause I'm a very interactive guy, just seeing the face-to-face, but now with the technology these days, with Zoom, we meet at least once a week. We do a few with some of the guys. We do a FaceTime Friday as well too. So it's just kind of nice to just talk about other things other than, academics and lacrosse, just normal day life stuff, which has been great. But honestly, the one big thing obviously during the semester was, we have a big thing predicated on weekly grade checks and stuff like that. That was the only thing where I felt like I didn't have full grasp of everything. But other than that, really, we've been connecting, every week. So it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, you sound like you've been super connected with Zoom. I know a lot of teams are utilizing that as well. But how is the affected the cut season? I know it kind of dawned on you really quick. You guys only got to play 2 games, and then just cut. What was that? What was that like? What was that from the team?
Honestly, oh my dog, gotta love the quarantine life, I guess. Hey, Cannoli, come here, buddy. Really, it made us hungrier, to get, we knew that we could do good things this year. We were expecting us to be in the conference tournament. The one thing for us, injuries early on didn't help, and especially on the defensive side of things, because that was where we needed the most help, because offensively we were humming along. It's a good and bad, because we see the potential that's there. We're building something that really is up and coming, where we're going to surprise a lot of folks. We felt that this year was going to be it, but obviously now it's going to be next year. But really, we've got the pieces in place, so we're excited about that. And the guys are working hard. And so that's what these weekly meetings are, and what we're doing during this off season now. Really, we're excited of where the future's heading. So I'm a very optimistic guy. So really, the sky's the limit for these guys.
Yeah, you got a young team. You got a lot of experience. And from what I saw when I watched a couple games, you played at a very fast pace. It's super exciting to watch that as well. But during these times, I know it can be difficult as a coach, because usually you feed off the interactions with the guys. I know it doesn't feel the same, even though it kind of is when you're interacting over Zoom. What is this whole pandemic quarantine? What has it taught you about being a head coach?
For me, really, it's been very humbling, because I'm an Irish Italian kid, and so interaction and family is really important to me. And so having the weekly meetings obviously means a lot to me, and just having other conversations outside of Zoom and individual ones as well too. I covet those, but really, kind of reflection, and reflecting on a lot of things, and watching, my wife go through a lot of things as well too, because she's a college administrator at Valparaiso University. So I kind of hear some of the stuff that's going on upstairs when she's, up in her little war room. And so, and then with me kind of virtually recruiting, still getting connected with players, and then kind of reaching out to the lacrosse community as well too. One of the big things that I did, during this time was connect with a lot of club programs, other high schools, and just random folks on social media through Twitter that, I sent out a video, I think probably maybe that first week when everyone was bogged down, and just kind of reached out to say, hey, if you want to, get information about the recruiting process or just kind of lacrosse in general, please reach out to me. Within that first 2 weeks, I probably had about 150 FaceTime, Zoom calls, stuff like that, with a lot of kids, ranging from, all the way out from, Australia. So it was, for me, I'm an interactive guy. And so really, I love, talking. And so, but, it was nice to, see my wife too, because she always talks about being a lacrosse widow during the season. Probably about maybe 9 months out of the year. So this has been kind of nice.
Yeah, I bet it has been. You get to be around the family a little bit, be around the wife. But you mentioned recruiting. I mean, it's difficult because like you get a lot of times. I saw you just signed a new recruit on Twitter actually this morning, so that's pretty exciting for you guys.
Yeah.
But what's it like trying to recruit? I mean, obviously you open up and you say, reach out to us if you need anything. But I can imagine, especially I know from like the Illinois area, there are not a lot of high schools that have a lacrosse team. So what kind of loops do you have to go through to try and go find recruits?
Really, I think the connections obviously helps. The Notre Dame family connection for me has helped out tremendously. A lot of my buddies and friends that played at Notre Dame or had some ties with Notre Dame that are in with lacrosse, and it's been worldwide, and so that's really helped. The New York background as well too helps, and then just kind of making different connections and pipelines as well too, because previously the school I was at before, a junior college program, I made a lot of connections as well too with a lot of coaches, whether it's club programs, which is very huge. And then obviously the Indiana high schools, I knew a lot, and a lot of the Midwest folks as well too. So it really hasn't hurt, but really, for me, I'm very targeted in where I'm looking at individuals as well too, because really you got to find what I call as the RKGs, the right kind of guys. And, they could be from, good programs that have a winning culture, because that's what we're trying to bring. And that's what we're trying to change the face of this, program. And I think we've done a pretty decent job of it so far in my 3 years here in changing that culture, but really just finding the right fit that's going to fit academically and then our team-wise as well too. But in Illinois, now it's become a sanctioned state sport, which is great. And so now there leaps and bounds, probably within the last 5 to 7 years, there's been a huge growth in lacrosse, especially here in the Midwest, which has been great. It's the fastest growing sport in the world. Now we've got 2 professional leagues as well too. And so they're one of the leagues that's actually going to have somewhat of a season this summer, so which is kind of nice. So really, we're on a nice little island, I like to say, here where we're at in Chicago, and there's a lot of schools, but really when you look at our roster, there's not too many Illinois kids, even though we did sign one today, which is great. But if you look at our roster, it's from everywhere.
And you talk about like that hub around Chicago. I mean, big things come for you guys from the NAC is that it's going to be the NAC is creating that lacrosse conference and starting next year. So I can imagine you're pretty excited about that, and not having to worry about traveling all over the place now to play games. You'll be able to play in your hub around Illinois and Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I love it because now we don't have to travel all the way up to Minnesota. Not that I don't like Minnesota, Pete, I love Minnesota. Just want to let him shout out for there. And Iowa as well too. So, I mean, that conference, the Midwest, lacrosse conference was just very, geographically, it should have been 2 conferences, to begin with. But I mean, I understand why they did it, and it was great experience, loved it. But now we can have more flexibility, especially with our out of conference scheduling. Because now, we've got some pretty heavy hitters on the top of our conference that should be, NCAA tournament qualifying teams. And so now they've got the flexibility to bolster their out of conference schedule. So whoever ends up being the runner up, in that conference has a very good leg of making, one of those at-large spots in the NCAA tournament. And so really, this is a great, exciting time to be a part of the NAC for us. And, it's going to be a very competitive conference, and, obviously Aurora, Benedictine. So we kind of keep those nice rivalries that we covet, and, hopefully we'll be surprising them, soon. So I'm looking forward to it. And I know the boys are definitely looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, you're going to have 5 of the teams already in that conference offer both men and women's lacrosse. And then Milwaukee School of Engineering is men's lacrosse as well. So you have those 6 teams there. Now you're expanding out. I know Edgewood just added a program there, and then obviously all the other teams will be adding that too. So it's super exciting, I think, especially for the NAC and for us too. I mean, you're going to have a lot of competition. You talk about the rivalry. Now it's not so much of where you're going in the Midwest or out East. It's going to be, all right, it's all going to be centered around the NAC. That's super exciting. So you mentioned you had your transition. You started out in high school, then you went to your junior college, and then you had your now you're at Concordia. What was it during all those years of transitioning? What did you find yourself changing in your coaching style? What worked? What didn't work for you?
For me, changing over from the high school to college, really, it was getting the boys, or I should say men now, getting acquainted to my style. For me, it's always been very fast paced, a lot of pressure. And really, the first couple of years when I first got, to CUC, I had to slow things down. And be more of an instructor teacher, kind of going back to the high school route of, very hands-on and really getting them the technical aspect. The junior college, honestly, I didn't have to really teach them a whole lot because these were very highly skilled athletes. A bunch of them transferred to Division I top tier programs. And so, which was really nice. And we averaged about 19 goals a game. And so we were playing really at a fast pace. And I think the connection piece with the guys too, and laying a structure as well too. When I got here, had to, rechange a whole culture. Guys that, might have not have played the game, a lot, we're on this roster and a small roster size, it's probably one of the smallest in the NCAA. And so I had to take, a deep breath, but, once again, being very positive out of it. But really, I think the main thing with this was just, the instruction, where now the guys that I'm bringing in, I don't have to worry too much of teaching them the basics anymore. Now they've got such a higher IQ in lacrosse that now we can work on all the schemes and concepts that we're trying to do. And really now, I trust my guys that, I don't have any set plays. It's just, we're working on the creativeness of their IQ and some of the concepts that we do during practice. So when they get to games, they understand it. It's a breeze. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I bet. And so, that's actually a really big trust right there. You mentioned not having any set plays, and I can imagine that a lot of creativity. So in order to get that fast pace that you want in the game, and you want that all the flexibility in the motion, how do you structure your practices around that idea in order to build that trust and get the players on the same page as each other? Because I can imagine it takes a lot of communication to even run anything without any set plays.
Yeah, well, the main thing in lacrosse and really kind of in life is communication. If you can't communicate, you're not going to be successful. And the guys will tell you too, they don't communicate as well as they should, and which can be frustrating at times. And I'm not a screamer or yeller, but there's one or a few times during practice, though, I think River Forest might hear me. But we install all this stuff during the off season to get them acclimated. So really right now they're working on the things like our playbook, sort of say. So really it's just all motions. But the main things that we're dedicating on is being the best conditioned team in the country. And so they're dedicated into running a lot, because we feel that if we can beat teams with our legs and pressure, and especially in riding, and that's just, where you're guarding every guy on the field 24/7, then we feel that we can win a lot of games. And so they've, embraced that culture of, we're a run team, and, it's not for everybody. And so I like this style. It works. It basically takes away, some of the athletes as well too, that we feel that I think this is, a good scheme that's going to help us win a lot of games and be in that top 4 in the conference.
Yeah. So what would you say then to the people that don't watch lacrosse or don't understand that much about lacrosse? it seems already you've got a lot of different meshes of sports already. What would you say is like some of the unique features of lacrosse that distinguishes it from other fast-paced sports or conditioning sports and trying to just score goals?
Besides being the fastest growing sport, it's deemed the fastest sport on 2 feet. And really, I feel that it takes, the best of a lot of meshes, all these sports, the physicality of football, concepts of basketball, the up and down pace of hockey and soccer. And so really it's, there's a lot of emotion to this game, and even the historical origin of this game too makes it very exciting as well too. It's called the medicine game because it has a lot of healing purposes to a lot of folks, and especially in this time and age now, getting lacrosse back out there is healing a lot of wounds, and especially with the high school kids missing out on their year. So like right now I'm working with a travel team, and we just got out on the field 2 weeks ago, and so it's been great. It's been a nice thing for all of us, for them, but really for me as well too.
Yeah, no, I know baseball is just starting up for me, so I can imagine just being out there and just the energy that you have at your first practice is something that is super exciting. Just get back out there. And you talk the healing game. I think that's a really interesting way to put it, because I think in every way sports has their kind of healing way. Everybody copes with it a certain way. When the season did get cut short, what was your initial reaction to the decision? But then also, what was your role as the coach? What did you do to comfort the team or be there for the team?
Honestly, I felt a lot of disappointment for the guys, and especially for my two seniors, for Brett and Brian. And Brian didn't even get a chance to play this year too, which was even more heartbreaking. So when I told them the news, I found out from Pete, and so basically I got on the phone and had a FaceTime call with what we call our CATS group. Our CATS team stands for Cougar Accountability Team Leaders. Not only captains, but just kind of senior leaders as well too. And, all the guys were getting on then, all of a sudden Brian got on, and I kind of got choked up a little bit just because, I have so much love for these guys, because it's a family. And it was just really, heartbreaking to see, because, now they don't have a chance to, don the Cougar gold anymore. And, but just relaying to the team that, I'm here for them no matter what, just being in constant contact with each other, because really, at the end of the day, all you've got is family. And so, and not only the family that they have at home, but really the family that you have, that will do anything for you. And so really it's been hard, but at the end of the day, it's been nice still connecting with each other. And so it was a season that, what could have been. And so I think that's a motivating factor for us now for the drive for 2021.
You mentioned Brian Harris, one of your seniors. There was an article posted on the Cougars website. I'm pulling up the quote right here. But I think I was reading through it before we talked today, and it was really, really it touched me especially, because I know as a student athlete and working with some of the guys on my team as a senior, and I think that the love of sports that it brings all around for everybody. In his letter called Dear Lacrosse, he said, while our love for the sport is shown every time we take the field, it is the moments off the field that define us. The friendship I have gained through lacrosse are those that I will keep for a lifetime. I loved being a part of a group of people who accepted me for my true colors and treated me just as if I was not different from them. My brothers will always be my brothers. What does that mean for you as a coach? Just hearing the words out of a senior leader on your team, but also it sounds like someone who is at the heart and soul of what your team was trying to be.
Yeah, no, to sum it up, those boys and Brian, they mean the world to me. I mean, I don't have any children of my own, so I inherit, these young men. And same thing with my wife too. So I mean, we embrace them like they're our own sons, and we'll do anything to help them. And when I heard that, and man, just thinking about it again kind of gets me choked up. I mean, Brian was the first lacrosse player I met when I got on campus. And he's a very, kind of like me, very outspoken and very transparent too. Will tell you like it is. And I enjoyed, the first conversation we had and all the other conversations outside of lacrosse that I had with him as well too. He's got a bright future, and and one I'm gonna miss a whole lot. But he embraced, that brotherhood culture that lacrosse brings. Before every game, we have what we call a brotherhood circle, and so I kind of talk about what we want to get out of today's game and stuff like that. But we also have one or two guys talk about what this team and this program means to them, and Brian embraced that culture, right from the get-go. And, I love him, like a son. And, I know that, this won't be the last time that I see or talk to him. And so actually I'm probably going to see him in the next couple of weeks anyway. So when I get back up to campus, so, he's just a great guy. And as I said, these guys mean the world to me.
Yeah, it's definitely was really touching to hear what you just said, but also too about what Brian said, because it brings out the athlete in all of us at one point. Everybody that loves sports, just talking about how much sports can actually change your life, how much it truly means to you. But you can definitely see like just the raw emotion that is shown. It's lacrosse is a tough sport, but I mean it's from what it sounds like you guys just embrace the emotion that sometimes is almost put aside in certain cultures and teams, which is something I appreciate about your team, is that you're embracing the emotion and that brotherhood. It's not just going out and hitting somebody and saying that I got your back. It's actually like being there, picking them up when showing the emotion.
Yeah, no, I mean, the great thing, like even the first year that, I was here with only 12 guys, there were some games where we didn't even have a sub. Those guys never gave up, which was tremendous. And, at the end of each game, you would have the coaches and random parents kind of like, oh, just a change in this team is refreshing, and just having those nice things to say, it was great, but coming from a competitor standpoint, just not winning a lot of games, obviously, it still kind of fuels a lot, but really those guys will do anything that I ask for them. And that's all I can ask for. I don't ask them to be perfect. I ask them to give me 110%. If you give me 110% in everything that you do, whether it's lacrosse related or even academics, just in life in general, you're going to have a great experience and a great career. And so really, we call what I learned this from Lou Holtz, is win. And that means, what's important now. And so if you instill those things in life, you're going to be very successful. And 99.9% of the time, these young men do that. And I couldn't be any prouder.
Well, Coach, thank you for taking the time out of your day and being part of the podcast. I know I learned a lot about lacrosse and just about the culture. I think that it's so important in sports in general. And I think some of the stuff we talked about today, it's really heartwarming, especially during these times we get a lot of confusion about sports and what's going on in the world. So thank you for opening up and being on the podcast today.
My pleasure. As I said, you've got a huge, bright, future ahead of you too.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you to all our viewers that stayed tuned for today's episode of the Cougar Playbook. Next week, we'll have a new guest, and we'll be talking more about CUC athletics. In the meantime, as always, go Cougars.